This is the PC we're talking about today, friends, because I had to build a new test bench. And so back on Black Friday, I think it was, V1 Tech was having a sale on their dopamine case, or I think it should be called dopamine case because it's supposed to be a mining case. And I bought it, and it's taken me, was it 8 months to actually build in it because it came flat packed, and so I had to construct it myself. And so I decided to do that on stream because I do need a new test bench system. And as you can see, I think I completely underestimated its size. This thing is way bigger than I could have even, just scratched the table. Oh, that was a weird feeling. It's bigger than I could have anticipated. And this thing had a few challenges that I wasn't quite expecting, so I can detail those to you now. As you can see here, this is a full ATX motherboard. This is a B550 MSI Tomahawk motherboard. I have a Ryzen 7 3700X in here, and then this is just a 970 GPU that I was just gonna put in here. But it doesn't take up any space whatsoever because of this railing right here. It's supposed to fit up to 12 GPUs. You can slot in 12 different graphics cards, so this is definitely a mining case, of which I can hear you guys saying, well, duh, Brett, didn't you, what did you think a mining case was gonna be? Small? And to my not failure, yes I did. The pictures, I think, just didn't necessarily convey how absolutely massive this case was gonna be, number one. And then number two, I actually ran into an issue with this top bracket right here. Apparently, V1 Tech has a couple different top brackets that they apparently have with the dopamine case. You can see on their website, they actually have a couple PC builds that they're showing off, which looks like the GPU can actually slot into the PCI Express slot. However, with this top bracket that they included here, there is a gap between where the GPU goes and where the PCI Express slot is. So I ran into the issue of I needed a PCI Express riser, which I didn't have on hand, and so I couldn't actually get this test bench set up because the top panel thing was actually a little different than what was communicated in the product showcase images like I was thinking. As you can see here, this is where the bottom of the card would be. This is the PCI Express slot. There's no way that was ever getting inserted into there. So I unfortunately had to pick up a PCI Express riser in order to actually even get this working, but it looks like it's actually going to turn out fine at this point. And I decided, because of the way they have this bracket system set up, you can either have it this way or this way. I'm just gonna make it so that the GPU has the fans facing up like this, because I think that's a cooler display when you're getting shots of the card for most of them. And that's actually one of the things I didn't really understand with GPU manufacturing. Like, they made the prettiest part, the part that faces down and you typically don't see in a PC. I'm not gonna have that here. So just to go over the specs of this test bench, number one, this is the V1 Tech dopamine case, which is huge. I go over the features that I'm gonna use in a second, but this is the MSI B550 Tomahawk Ryzen 7 3700X with the stock cooler that I'll be swapping out shortly. I've got 16 gigs of G.Skill Trident Z Neo RAM at 3600 megahertz, and then the GPU will be whatever I need to benchmark. But I didn't have any power supplies lying around, and as you can imagine, there's a shortage at this point. Actually, this is a lie. I did have one power supply lying around, and it's an EVGA 400 watt 80 plus bronze, I think it was. It might even be an 80 plus white. It might even be not 80 plus rated. I'm not sure. I think it's 80 plus bronze. Regardless, non-modular, doesn't have anything like that. There's a couple cool features of this dopamine case, which I'll go over in a second, but it's that it can fit two power supplies, one right here, and then this is the 400 watt that's right here. Obviously, this is a mining case, so having extra power supply handy in order to power your mining cards, that would make a lot of sense. I am apparently going to use this as just a massive test bench. Oh, and as you can see right here, I'm using the Transcend SSD 230S. This is a 1 terabyte SSD. It's just essentially gonna be very simple for me to get all this set up, and big thanks to Transcend for sending this over for us to be able to use in our test bench. So that's the basic setup right now, but I want to talk about the power supply that I did end up picking out for our test bench, number one, because there is a huge shortage going on right now, obviously more than likely due to coronavirus and shipping logistics like that. So I was only able to find something like this on Amazon, and I've never heard of this brand in my entire life. This is GameMax, and this is their RGB power supply. But the good news is it's 80 plus gold, 850 watt, and fully modular. I have no idea how well this is going to work out. It was $150, which isn't terrible for an 850 watt power supply, so it's not ridiculously marked up, and it's not super cheap to make me super worried, but at the same time, it's not necessarily got my confidence considering I've never heard of this company before in my life, and I'm actually not sure what the warranty setup is on this, but this is the power supply. Fully modular. This actually looks like the Silverstone interface that I've seen previously. So I'm not sure who is the OEM for their power supplies, but I've seen this before, especially those blue connectors ring a bell. I mean, the packaging's nothing special. You can see it's styrofoam. We've got zip ties and cables, and then a nondescript extra cable bag. So this is what I'm going to use for our test bench and powering it, because 400 watts isn't going to be enough if I do decide to test more extensive graphics cards than this GTX 970 that I have in here. I think this is the EVGA ACX version. So that's our test bench. I made a couple of mistakes. Number one, I underestimated the size of this thing. My arm is not short. I'm 6'2", so my wingspan's pretty breadthy. Bready. I have a bready wing. I'm gonna shut up now. So I underestimated the size. I then didn't anticipate that I was gonna need a PCI Express riser for actually using this. And then lastly, I needed another GPU. But I wanted to mention a few other specs about this case. It can fit a 360 here, a 360 there, and then a 480 here. So there's tons of cooling potential, especially if you wanted to do a custom liquid cooled mining setup. You could have a ton of radiator space. Or if it's just regular, GPUs that you're trying to mine with, which I don't know if mining is coming back or not. You could have 4 120 fans blowing up here and pushing the air away from the GPU mining cards to keep everything pretty cool. So this is it's a decent case. It's just a lot chunkier than I ever thought it was going to be, and it required a few things that I had to wait on in order to get it put together, but I'm satisfied with it. We're going to accountcontinue to use this as our test bench, especially because it is open air. I'm going to be able to get more easily accessible product shots just leaving it here instead of having to try to maneuver an actual real case. So let me know what you think of the V1 Tech Dopamine down below in the comments. I'll leave product links for everything that I talked about today, including the GameMax 850 watt RGB power supply. I guess I can do a follow-up on what I think about this, but yes, our new test bench is ready. This was unexpected challenges, and I'm unexpectedly ending this video. Bye.